Nino, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. How are you finding the show? What's going on? Tell us what you're seeing.
Well, it's great. I think it's the first time. I mean, last year we were here, which was much smaller, more subdued. It's not where it was in 2019 in terms of size, but it is interesting for us because Central Hall now is even more interesting because we have all the North Hall as well, but we have the brands we were missing from those places that were in South Hall, like Magic Design, are now closer to where everything is happening in terms of production. And we cover, CineD mostly covers production technology, a little bit post-production, but mostly production stuff. And everybody's excited to be back, I think.
I agree. I mean, it feels like it.
Yeah.
What are you seeing?
What am I seeing?
There?
Well,
what's exciting to you?
What's exciting? I mean, we've been covering the show for many years. I think the first time was 2008, 2009. I mean, we rebranded. We used to be called Cinema 5D.
I do.
Because, like when we started, nobody took DSLR filmmaking seriously, right? There was a little island in the middle of Central Hall with a couple companies like Sakudo and Kessler, which were like taking photo cameras seriously, but everybody else was just looking at us like as if we were crazy, like you're filming with a photo camera. And then everything changed in the industry. And what I see, and I mean, if we talk about
so you mark that from like Canon 5D to present. Yeah. Tell me what you've seen in terms of the
first of all, I mean, like if I think back 10 years or more, nobody took all the Chinese manufacturers seriously, right?
Yeah,
we had a lot of Chinese brand with very low quality products back in the day, but now this has completely changed.
Isn't that interesting?
And I think we have a very full schedule of interviews about new products, and we just looked at the schedule today, and I think out of the 10 interviews or 12 interviews we have scheduled today, and usually we do more than that, 90% of them are Chinese companies. It's because they do make very high quality products now under their own brands, which didn't used to be the case. In general, in terms of production technology, the trends we're seeing, I mean, we see over the last few years already, we see so many lens options out there, which weren't there before. It used to be really hard to get affordable cinema zooms for large format cinematography. This is now mainstream. I mean, you get so many of those. A few years ago, we had the same with cinema primes, where everybody and their mom suddenly made a cinema prime. A completely saturated market now, I think. And now it's the zooms, which is interesting. I mean, the options are just staggering. I mean, we keep talking about this. It's like, if you get started in this industry now, like indie, our original audience are indie filmmakers, I would say, or owner-operators. That's where we come from, because that's, making a 5D work for cinema, that's where we came from, but then it, got into everything else. This is just a completely different world. I mean, you can really, for very little money, make a very convincing package of, it's not really, I mean, the differences are so small now between the lower end and the mid-range and the higher end. Of course the differences and so on, but you can make amazing looking films for very little money, which didn't used to be the case.
No, absolutely.
Because of how technology has changed.
Are you finding like that your users and readers, it's a different demographic?
It has evolved with us.
Sort of younger, and that sort of idea of the content creator.
Well, I think
the Swiss Army knife person.
I think it's evolved with us. I mean, when I started out writing for our site, I was just, kind of fresh out of college. So that was like, I don't know, 15 years ago or something. And 17 years ago. And then, I'm getting old.
So old.
But and the audience just also has evolved. You see a lot of people who started out back then or were just fresh are now really not seniors, but they're really established in the industry. And you see a lot of those people are now doing very high-end work for the streaming platforms, for cinema, all kinds of stuff. And it has evolved, but you get a younger crowd also through other channels, Instagram, YouTube, where we're also very present with our content. So it's a mixed bag, I would think. But in general, I think the people who read our site are more on the professional side. They know their stuff already.
That's sort of mid-career.
It's not so much where a lot of YouTubers are, where they are kind of like the gateway into things where you need to know a little bit of stuff when you read our site because like it's very technical.
Yes.
So,
Absolutely. No, that's fascinating. Is there any one product or 5 products or that you've seen that have just been amazing for you? But you don't have to answer if you don't.
No, there's a few. I mean, it's unfortunately, I have to say that the big camera companies are not using in general trade shows anymore to launch cameras.
Yeah.
I think that's something that has started already before the pandemic, and the pandemic has accelerated that, where they want all the thunder for themselves, so they choose dates where they think nobody else is announcing anything else.
Right.
It's unfortunate for us because I always loved the first day of a show.
Absolutely.
We had those big camera announcements.
Yeah.
I'm missing that. I mean, the last company to do that was Blackmagic Design a couple of years ago, but that has stopped, unfortunately. So, but in terms of other products, there's not a huge thing where I say, wow, this is, I just saw this here for the first time.
Yeah.
But there's a couple things that we're seeing the first time in the flesh here. I mean, we get most of the camera stuff to test before it's being announced anyway. Right. But, things like DJI's Inspire 3 drone is very amazing. We see a lot of lighting options from various manufacturers. That's a trend we've seen over the last few years where the big competition is now in the lighting field. You have also not only, but a lot of Chinese brands that make very high quality lights. So you have Aperture, you have Nanlux, you have a lot of other brands that make amazing value for money, really. That really give a lot of the higher end or more expensive brands a run for the money, because you can get now very large fixtures with a very high output on LED basis, which are in the reach of a lot of smaller production houses or rental houses. So that's interesting. I wouldn't particularly, I wouldn't single out one product, to be honest, but there's in general, if anybody's here, I would recommend them to just check out the lighting options in general.
Are there any specific, I mean, obviously, like, everyone's talking about workflow, everyone's talking about integrating everything, but anything you're seeing on your side of the world in terms of, like, I don't know, but virtual production or anything else, any other new sort of, like, emerging trends, or I guess, like, AI with all the production tools?
I mean, virtual production is the big buzzword now. I think there is, we also run an educational platform, MZ, which, like, we are actually in talks to, I want to find partners to work on a workshop for virtual production, because I've also talked to the ASC a lot about that, and they also struggle with their members, even like at the ASC level, and all their, like, the camera assistants, everybody. Everybody needs to shoot in a volume now, kind of, especially in California and elsewhere, but for Hollywood productions. But a lot of people don't know how to learn how to do that, especially assistants and so on, because there is not a unified technology yet that is established.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of players in that industry, and still very much being figured out. So you need to know what you're dealing with before you actually have a shoot there. And that is very hard. So, I want to do like I'm looking to find partners to work on a course for teaching how to actually shoot in a virtual stage, because so many people are kind of faced with that reality but don't know how to start with that.
Sure, absolutely.
And that's definitely a big trend. I think what we will see in terms of technology in that field, I mean, now it's still a high budget kind of thing to make a virtual production studio. But because it's such a big buzz, like we have seen in the lens field, like we have seen with the lights, we will see in a couple of years from now, I think everybody will have the opportunity to make a small virtual production studio in their own studio at home or whatever.
Absolutely.
That's going to be very reachable for everybody in terms of budget as well. And I think there will be players, and we're already starting to see some brands like Quasar Science and so on making things that are, it's not, I wouldn't say plug and play, but it is getting there where you have integrated RGB lights with LED panels that you can put up and program, so that even in a small environment you can put up a virtual production studio. And that's very interesting. I think we'll see this technology become mainstream.
And I think it'll scale and kind of like
Exactly.
right size or whatever, because you can use it for anything. You know,
Yeah.
like it's not the Mandalorian. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
yes, of course you can do that, but like, you know, you can do your commercial shoots,
Yeah.
you can do your enterprise video shoots, you can do whatever, you know. So
I mean, they had like some of the brands like Quasar and some others
Yeah.
have amazing demos here where
Yeah.
you can actually see that. You just stand there and it looks like as if you're standing,
Yeah.
even if the camera is not moving, which
Yeah.
is probably the case for most studios anyway.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
not on a slider or crane or whatever. Just a basic kind of straight to camera kind of
Yeah.
thing. That works as well.
Yeah,
And that's
absolutely.
going to be something that within the shortest amount of time we will see
Right.
being a project. I think it's a bit too early for the small production houses and
Yeah.
owner operators to invest in that
Yeah,
technology.
yeah.
But I think in 1 or 2 years from now, that's going to be mainstream.
Yeah.
There's going to be 1 or 2 players that are going to, really disrupt that market at some point on the lower end.
yeah, absolutely. Are you seeing any big changes in live production?
Live production for sure, in general, is becoming. I mean, it's just simply, the cameras. We use so many cameras in shoots these days, and it's becoming very easy to integrate a lot of cameras into live production, which didn't used to be the case.
Right.
And of course, also the solutions become more affordable. I just did an interview with Tilta,
Yeah.
which just announced a lighting head, like a remote head for big lights.
Oh,
Which
that's
now
so
you
interesting.
can operate
Yeah.
that. They go from 6 kilos to 30 kilograms.
Yeah.
Big lights. I mean, you can put up a RE Sun or something on
Yeah.
that, and you can control it through the little follow focus.
Yeah.
It's like
So it's
just
am-
tilt pan and tilt the whole thing. I mean, you could put that in a concert environment. You can
Yeah.
control up to 12 of those with one hand unit.
Yeah.
And that's stuff that used to be really, really expensive to put up for live production, and now it's getting into the reach of a lot of people. Yeah.
So the sort of more cinematic
Yeah.
live production.
And then, of course, we still have Blackmagic Design that constantly push the boundaries in terms of what's affordable
Yeah.
with live anything,
Yeah,
really, with their ATEM
exactly.
series and other
I
things.
know.
So,
it's like, here you go, it's
Exactly.
$300. Go make a show.
and the other thing, of course, AI, because you mentioned it, I mean,
Yeah.
that's something I think which is still very much a big question mark. What's going to happen
Yeah.
for filmmaking technology in
Yeah.
general? How it's going to affect the generation even of like stock videos. I mean,
Yes.
there's gonna be what we see in the still image AI world already with
Yeah.
Midjourney version 5, which is
Yes.
insane.
Yes, it's bananas. Yeah.
Like photoreal
Yeah.
images. That's gonna come for video as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think especially the stock image market is gonna be hugely affected
Yes.
because like if I can just type, I want a sky with 50% clouds
Yeah.
moving at this wind speed.
Yeah.
And it's just going to spit out a video for that.
Yeah.
That's going to be disruptive. But of course, the question is going to be what's real and what isn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's going to be the difficult one to tell, I think.
Yeah.
And it's a bit too early to tell how it's going to affect us all, but it's going to.
It's going to, exactly.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I
You're
really
welcome.
appreciate it. All right.
Welcome.